Hey Sal, good morning. Thank you first off for helping all of us teach students across the nation. So I want to thank you for that. My name's India. I'm with Status Learning, but I've had my stomping grounds in Hillsborough County, Sarasota County, and Alachua County. Yes. And I have a question for you, just as an FCTM Equity and Access, a part of the committee. We focus on culture as well, and in closing the achievement gap in general. And the NAEP data has shown that we have not really had proficiency with students in the levels of math, fourth grade and eighth grade. And so there's definitely an area of focus there for helping us to close the achievement gap. So how can we use AI and the different practices that you've been saying to build culturally relevant and equitable practices to close the achievement gap, while also building the grit levels of the students that we're serving in these BIPOC communities?
Yeah, I'll say something interesting about cultural relevance that I very openly, I always used to kind of struggle with it because, sometimes in the name of cultural relevance, pre-AI, let's say we're making a video, we're making an article, this is something that our content team has always wanted to do, but we get to, are we stereotyping? Sometimes when we are, saying if we're trying to make it culturally relevant, does that assume that everyone in that group?
But like the humanization of it,
right,
you know what I mean?
Right. So
Celebrating and
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think so. I think the opportunity now, and Convigo already does some of this, is that you can make it relevant to the individual. Relevant as opposed to just saying, oh, you're a member of this group.
Yeah.
So then that might make it more relevant to you.
Right.
But it might not be. You might be in the inner city, but you love Japanese anime. That's
Right.
the thing that gets you excited.
Good.
And before, no one was thinking that you might.
Yeah.
And now the AI can say, oh, well, you're into anime. All right. So I think that's and obviously, so I think that's a big win that we can hopefully start to do. In terms of motivation and we have other, I didn't talk about it, but we have other activities that are actually helping to drive motivation. We partnered with Angela Duckworth, who's famous for her work on grit and that type of work. These researchers like Angela Duckworth and Carol Dweck and this they've always created these interventions that can improve your growth mindset, your grit, et cetera, but these interventions were not easy to deliver. In fact, in many cases, you had to have a very trained educational psychologist to deliver these interventions. We have an activity on Convigo already that her and her grad students designed to help students focus. And as a whole, it's really based on like cognitive behavioral therapy, et cetera.
Grit levels.
But they're doing a research study with us to see, hey, it's looking like it's just as good, and in some ways better because it's always there. So I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see a lot more of that, where it'll be able to do these kind of interesting interventions on mindset. They'll be very powerful.
Thank you.
I think to add to that, we have a ton of efficacy research on Khan Academy Khan Academy content, even pre-AI, and then now we're starting to do studies looking at layering on AI in addition to the content. And with our content, we see in particular our 8th graders have some of the greatest gains when they have efficacious usage of Khan Academy content using the math. And then when we layer on the AI, give them that support, give them those scaffolds, because we know from the opportunity myth, and we know from a lot of research that we've seen that kids, especially our 8th graders in math, spend so much time working off grade level that when we give them a scaffold like Convigo so that they're working on grade level content with a product that has, we've got, I don't even know how many studies now, a lot. We've got 50 plus studies and we see that there's great gains there, and now we're continuing to offer scaffolds. We're working on some additional research now, and here in Florida even, to kind of pull some of those pieces together. But that is something that I will say is near and dear to many of our hearts, to make sure that all students have an equitable opportunity to engage with mathematics and to learn to love mathematics, because if students can be successful, we know that it's going to open the door and open the opportunity for them to do and be anything that they want in their future.
And also, one quick thing, I think what Dina's bringing is a really important point, is AI by itself can be interesting, even if it's done quality and all these guardrails, but when you pair it with like a structured learning progression, the standard line. Like, there's a reason I was tutoring my cousins, but there's a reason why I felt the need to still build a structured exercise. This was a very primitive version back in 2005. But when you pair the two, and then you also can liberate all of us to then do more of the really the focused intervention, the human side, et cetera, then I think you get the best of all worlds. Any one of those by themselves, as I said, if I had to pick any one of those, it would definitely be the human side. But then if the human has to do all of these things, then it becomes harder. But if you can do all three and pair them well, then you're golden. And the interventions, the ethics studies team is talking about, it's like 30 to 60 minutes a week. It's not like a ton. It seems to have large gains.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've seen and we hear frequently from districts that we work with is for elementary educators, small group instruction has always been a part of their practice. And for middle and high school instructors, in many places, I'm sure some of you have it nailed and figured out and are amazing with it, but in many places that it feels like it's almost been a myth that high school teachers could actually set up small groups that were effective, that kept on pace so that students were ready for their end of course exams at the end of the year. And we have heard that Cognito paired with the content, it's made small group instruction possible so that teachers can sit with the students that need them the most. And that's one of the things that has been the most inspirational, I would say, for many on our team, is giving teachers more time to spend with the kids. Less time working on the administrative tasks, less time on the behaviors and the task management, but really sitting and doing math and talking about math with kids.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we are